Hello and welcome back to Training for Leadville. I'm Mark and this is episode number 5. We're going to call this the Black Canyon edition because I just got back last night from running the Black Canyon 100K in Phoenix, Arizona. Well, just outside of Phoenix, Arizona. It was a gorgeous race. The weather was beautiful, it was sunny, the trail was in good condition, it wasn't dusty, it rained a little bit the days prior, so the dirt was pretty packed down. It wasn't flooded, the rivers were at a decent level even for the river crossings, so we really couldn't have asked for a better day. And that was one of the things I had to remind myself when it got difficult, that I was really lucky to be out there. And all of us as runners are always lucky to be out on the trail, being able-bodied, healthy, and be able to take on a race like that. And especially so when the course is in such good condition and you just get a day like we had on Saturday. So today I'm going to be talking about the result of the race, how I did, some of the thought process going into the race, so my mindset the day and days leading up to the race, and also some of the things during the race that I managed well and that I didn't manage as well. But again, I have a chance to fix these things for next time. What's really funny is a lot of these races, you learn things that you already knew. You end up making mistakes that you've made in the past and that you've fixed on prior races, but since it's a new season, you forget about things. So I'll be going into a couple of those areas today as well. So the first thing, want to be able to show a little bit of my thinking pre-race, and I'll take you to a clip right now of my shakeout run the day leading up to the race. Here I am out in Arizona, day before the Black Canyon 100K. It's the earliest in the year I pushed myself to do a distance really over a marathon. I got started earlier this year than usual. My miles in December were good. January were about, I'll call it 15 or 20 higher than last January. In general, I feel like I've got a good base and I feel good. A little tiny ache in my shin, but I've already talked to my shin. We had a good conversation today. I told him, today's your last day to feel a little bit under the weather. Tomorrow's game time, and I think we come to an understanding. It's not going to be an easy race, I know that, but I have to keep three things in mind. 1, go out slow. 2, drink early and often. And 3, don't forget to eat. No different than any other ultra. I always seem to forget those 3, especially the last, or really all of them early in the season. So I'm going to remember those for tomorrow. And then of course keep with the normal adage, first half don't be an idiot, second half don't be a wimp. So with that I'm going to finish up this run, back to the hotel, eat, drink, just chill out for the day. Talk to you guys later. So you can see that shakeout run, it really had 3 thoughts in mind. I wanted to make sure that I went out slowly, I wanted to make sure that I drank, and I wanted to make sure that I ate. All 3 of those things were mistakes that I made in Sonoma last year, and I really learned a hard lesson on a really tough day that way. I will say that for the race this year, and for Black Canyon, I did go out really slowly. I ate and I drank, and I actually put in a lot of calories this year. So those 3 things were done right. I also had one philosophy going into the race, and I have this pretty much going to every race, and that is, like I said in the beginning, don't be an idiot, and at the end, don't be a wimp. And the idea behind that is you can always go out faster, but that means you're probably doing something stupid, unless you're an elite runner and you can probably make up for it. I'm just not that good of a runner to be able to make up for going out too fast and then being able to just push through at the end. I did that in Sonoma last year, and it was just an awful, awful day. I don't want to be in that situation again. I don't want to be in the situation where I'm just dragging myself to the finish line and crawling in some areas. I'd rather have some legs left and be able to push a little bit harder towards the end, which I was really happy that I had that chance to do day before yesterday in Black Canyon. I also had one philosophy, and again, that philosophy was we're all lucky to be out here, able-bodied, healthy, and having a great day on the course. So even when things get tough, 1, we did choose to do this, and 2, we're really, really lucky. We were able to be on the course in a gorgeous day, supported by incredible volunteers, a fantastic race director, and everything went really flawlessly. The only complaints that people might have might be about things like how rocky the course is, or that the day was hot, or anything like that, or that their stomach went. But those were things that happen in any race, and things that we call out as things that would slow us down. But the more and more I thought about it over the next 24 hours, all of those things were something that I could have prepared for better. For example, it was about 71, 72 degrees the day of the race, but had a nice breeze. It didn't feel that hot, but I was definitely slowing myself down a little bit to make sure that I didn't dehydrate. I was drinking a lot of fluids. I was really good on that. I was taking in a lot of calories to make sure that I had energy. But I could have done more sauna training leading into this race. I did spend one day in the sauna for about 25 minutes, but it wasn't enough. I probably should have been in there every other day for about 2 weeks. That was the first thing. The second thing was I was tripping. I was tripping all over rocks everywhere. I must have tripped maybe 30 times. My feet are a mess today. I turned my ankle 3 times on my right side, 1 time on my left, and I did faceplant 1 time in a little bit of a creek crossing where I stepped on a rock, hit some sand, and went down face first. And I was really lucky that I landed face first in the sand as opposed to on a rock like the rest of the course was. I also came pretty close to face planting on a rock later in the race with about a quarter mile left, but somehow saved myself, and I could see the rock about a foot from my face. So I was pretty lucky, but I also realized that I can't blame the course for that. I've got to blame myself. My fitness was good. It was pretty good. I'm really happy to be able to get out there this time of year and cover 100 kilometers or 62 miles at this point in the year. It's the earliest that I've ever tried to do a race this long. I've actually only done 2 races at this distance in the past. One was last year's Miwok, and that was 100K, and then of course Leadville last year. Both of those races were hard. Both of those races had a lot more climbing than Black Canyon, which was only about 5,600 feet of ascent. The difference with Black Canyon is that it was in February, of course, and I've only been training for about 2 months at this point. So my fitness is not as good, my base is not as good as it was when I did Miwok, where I had 5 months of training, or of course Leadville with 9 months of training. I haven't been doing back-to-back long runs. I've been doing maybe a 20 or a 30 mile and then a 10 the next day, but I haven't been doing a 28 and a 25 like I would in the main part of the season. It also had a lot of downhill, and I went down the hills pretty hard, but I didn't push too hard because I wanted to save my quads. I maybe could have sped up a little bit between mile 20 and 30, but again, those are things that I can take into account for next time. I did go out easy, so I'm really happy about that. I was in 583rd place, I believe, at mile 19.4. I ended up finishing in 320th place. So that's really a good thing. The fact that I went out slowly, I took it easy, and I saved a lot. But the things that I did wrong that I could have done better in the race, the biggest thing was probably aid station management. I have the best crew lead ever. Lisa is the best crew lead. Everyone around her in the aid stations is amazed at how much she has it dialed in, and it works like clockwork. But as a runner, I wasn't holding myself to the same standard that I have in prior races. I normally am in and out within 2 to 5 minutes at aid stations, maybe 8 minutes at one aid station if I have to do a full change of gear. Unfortunately, this time I didn't do that. I had a couple of aid stations where I was 1 minute or 2 minutes, but then at one point in I guess it was mile 19.4, I had a 20-minute aid station, almost 20 minutes. That's too long. I had another one after that was probably in the 12 or 13 minutes as well. Again, too long to spend at aid. I really need to get in and out faster. Now, the reason I was at aid for a little bit longer is I had to retape my feet, I had to change socks, things again that I can do better, and I'll probably use different tape for the next race because the water crossings pretty much chewed up the paper tape that I had to avoid blisters. Instead, I'll use Leuco tape, which is what I tape the bottom of my feet with to avoid blisters, and it's much better to avoid water and to avoid coming off, to the point that it's even tough to take it off after the race, but you can always deal with that when you get there. So again, I need to get through aid stations a lot faster, and I'll have the chance at Marin in the 50 miler coming up in 25 days to do that. Right now, I'm 186 days out of the Leadville 100, so I have time to practice. I have time to practice what I eat, moving through aid faster, and being better prepared. All right, we are somewhere in the range of 33 miles in right now. The sun is at its peak. It's around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Got a bit of an uphill segment here, so doing a bit of a hike. Still gorgeous. The day has been perfect for this. A lot of downhill in the beginning, a lot of loose rocks. Tough to get your footing for a lot of the race. Definitely saw a few people go down, toe tripped a few times, stayed upright, but we'll see how the back half holds up. My guess is that I will end up seeing the dirt a lot closer up at some point, but so far so good. Food's been good, fluid's been on where I need them to be. I've been using a lot of gels. Last time I had aid was about 1.5 miles ago, where I was at one of the aid stations. But the last time I saw my crew, Lisa, was about 12 miles ago. So in give or take 5 miles, I'll see her and get some of the fueling that I normally like to have. That'll be good. I'll have to get my night gear at that point because in that segment, the temperature will definitely start to drop down. I'll need to get a headlamp, kind of plan ahead for it. Again, this was a tougher race than I thought, but I'm really happy that I was able to get the race done in the time that I did. My final time was 15 hours and 16 minutes from a chip time and 15 hours and 19 minutes from the gun time. Again, I missed both my A goal and my B goal, but I'm pretty happy about the fact that I got it done and was running into the finish. As a matter of fact, if I look at my segments throughout the race, if I look at the first segment and then the third segment in the race, I was somewhere around a 12 minute and 46 second, 12:47 pace for those segments. Again, not fast by any means, but I was within about 10 seconds in my last segment of the last 3.5 miles of the race. Again, that was in the dark. It was after running 49 miles, and I was still able to keep my pace up to, just under 13-minute miles. Again, not great, but for an early race, I'm really pretty happy about that. So overall, I'm pretty happy about the outcome. I'm not thrilled. I would have loved to be faster, but I didn't have it in me that day. My training is good for this time of year, but is not where it needs to be for Leadville, and I know that. But I've got a lot more opportunities this season to fix this and to keep moving on. Again, I don't want to sound dejected. I learned a lot of good things that day, and I also had a good outcome. I think that if I had done this race last year and had this outcome, I probably would have been really happy about the outcome. I just probably set my expectations a little higher than maybe they should have been this year, and as a result, I was slightly disappointed that I couldn't have been maybe a half an hour or 45 minutes faster. But again, looking at the time I spent at aid stations, I could have been faster. I should have been faster. And I've got to get better foot turnover, getting down the hills. I've got to do a little bit more sauna training to be ready for heat, even though this wasn't that hot. And I've got to make sure that, again, I manage the aid stations right. So all of those things will go into improving times. I have another shot in 25 days at the Marin 50 miler. It's going to be a hard race. It's over 10,000 feet of climbing. I'm looking forward to that. I feel like I do pretty well on the uphills. And I'm just looking forward to being out in Marin. It is such a beautiful course as well. So again, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for all of your support. I want to thank everyone who sent in questions about my training, about how I think through things during the race. And I'm going to try to answer a few of those other questions moving forward. Some of the questions that did come up were about my gear, what I wear when I'm running. Why do I look so foolish with my running outfits? It's funny because a lot of people look amazing when they go out for runs. They have gear that looks awesome. I don't look good when I run, and I realize this. Everything I have is very functional. For example, I wear a waist pack, and the reason is I want to keep the weight of the water bottles and my gels on my hips and not on my shoulders. Last year I kept the weight on my shoulders, and it pulled me down when I was going up hills. Also, why do I wear that stupid hat with the rim turned up? Part of it is I want my crew to recognize me when I come into aid, but the bigger part is that hat, one, it's white, so it reflects the sun really well. Two, it's very, very light, so that it doesn't wear heavy on my head.
3, when I flip the brim up, it gets me to look up when I'm walking up hills, as opposed to a flat brim will have me staring at my feet when I'm going up hills. So I always make sure that I flip the brim up when I'm heading uphill so I can look where I'm going instead of arching my shoulders over and looking at my feet. The other thing about that is when I flip the brim up, I can keep my sunglasses there. They won't fall down. When I'm inside of trees, I always keep sunglasses off my face. I keep them on the top of my head because I want to make sure that I can see roots. I want to make sure that the shadows don't throw me off. I've had some falls during races when I'm in tree line and I can't see the shadows, I can't see rocks, I can't see roots, and I've fallen in those cases. Rarely, but it happens. Why do I wear those long socks? I don't do CrossFit, so that's not the reason. I wear them because if it's cold in the morning, where it was 45 degrees in the start of the Black Canyon race, and Leadville was pretty similar, it was actually a little colder, I want to be able to stay warm, but I don't want to wear full pants, and I can just push the socks down later in the race. The gear that I wear up top, I'll always wear a light white running shirt if it's going to be a sunny race. I've always got a thermal, and I've always got a rain jacket, a Gortex rain jacket on me. I almost always keep gloves and a hat on me as well. So this is how I prepare when it comes to gear for these races. I want to be light. I want to keep what I need on me. I want to make sure that I have the weight distributed properly so it doesn't interfere with my running. And I'm always testing these when I go out for training runs. The one thing that I don't want to do is try something new during race day. You never want to do that. You want to make sure that your gear is well tested and you've had the chance to really put a lot of good miles on it, because you don't want things going wrong during the race. I have a few things with the gear that I'm going to improve moving forward. I'm going to be doing some alterations to my waist pack. Again, I store all of my gear in a waist pack, including my extra shirt, gloves, anything that I need goes around my waist. I look a little ridiculous. It looks like I have an inner tube on, but it's functional and I don't really care how I look as long as I can get the miles in. In any case, I think that's about it for today's episode. I want to thank you again for jumping in, for taking a look at some of these episodes, for sending questions my way. I really had a fun time at Black Canyon. I'm looking forward to the next couple of weeks of training. I need to do a lot more hill training when it comes to Marin, so you'll see me on the treadmill more than in the past. And then after Marin, I'll be doing a lot more speed workout. So with that, I want to thank you all for jumping on, for taking a look at this video, and also want to remind you, just keep moving forward. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time. Hike now up ahead this really rocky hill, but gonna be up there in a moment.